Hello, everybody. My name is Maureen Holtz, and I am the Community Relations and Events Manager at Court 16.
Hi, everyone. My name is Hildy Morales. I am an administrative assistant and part of Sound of Tennis.
You're listening to
White Canes Connect.
Direct from Drexel Hill, Pennsylvania, just outside of fabulous Philadelphia, the city of brotherly love and sisterly affection, you're listening to Simon Studio, presented by White Canes Connect. Hey there, PA Federationists, and welcome to another episode of White Canes Connect, a podcast presented by the National Federation of the Blind of Pennsylvania. I'm your host, Simon Bonenfant. You might be thinking this voice sounds a little different than what you're used to for the show open, and that's correct, it is. That's because you're listening to the inaugural episode of a new series called Simon Studio, hosted by yours truly, Simon Bonenfant. It's all my content you know and love, just with a little new coat of paint, or to keep the theme of the title of the podcast, a new cane tip. New episodes will come to you once per month. And in addition to the virtual studio content, we may just have some on-location content coming your way, so keep an ear out for that soon. On today's episode, we're talking about a new program which was just launched in Philadelphia called The Sound of Tennis. Founded in New York City and presented by Court 16, Sound of Tennis has given blind and visually impaired people the opportunity to successfully learn, practice, and play full games of tennis, all using sound. To tell us all about it, I spoke with Maureen Holtz, the Community Relations and Events Manager at Court 16, as well as Hildy Morales, an administrative assistant and avid tennis player. This really is a remarkable program, and I've had the opportunity to attend their open house in December, and I really had a lot of fun just really learning about the basics of the game and meeting the people that founded the program and organized this event in December and also are part of the making of the Philadelphia branch. Sessions are held on Monday afternoons from 12 to 1 p.m. at Court 16, and that's located at 1400 North Howard Street in the Fishtown section of Philly. You can direct all inquiries to Layla Mueller, and her email address is in the show notes, so look for that there if you'd like to participate. Okay, let's take a listen. Well, Maureen and Hildy, it's wonderful to be speaking with you today. It's such a pleasure. Thank you for joining me. How you doing today?
We're doing great. Thank you so much for having both of us. We're so excited to talk to you today.
Great.
Well, we are talking about Sound of Tennis. And the name is very self-explanatory, and it's a really catchy name. It is a program that allows blind and visually impaired people to play tennis. And we will be talking a lot about its founding and the programs that are operated in New York City. But we have a very exciting piece of news that Sound of Tennis has recently opened a branch right here in Philadelphia, the city of brotherly love. So we are very happy to be celebrating this tremendous milestone with Sound of Tennis. So we're going to be taking you through the founding and the progression and what you can expect if you become a participant of Sound of Tennis. And we all hope you will. For those who are not familiar, can you both start by explaining what Sound of Tennis is and its founding?
Absolutely. Sound of Tennis started almost 10 years ago, over 10 years ago, actually, in our very first flagship club in Gowanus, Brooklyn in 2015. Court 16 originally opened a year prior in 2014 to become a new club for kids and families to experience tennis in a way that was designed to make tennis very exciting, inclusive, and a place where families and children can enjoy the sport and start to build relationships both on the court and off the court. So we started with a small club in Gowanus, Brooklyn, over 10 years ago in 2014. Very quickly after that started, and I joined Court 16 at that time as a much younger mother with a 6-year-old and a 2-year-old. So that's how I first was exposed to Court 16 and meeting the incredible team that built it as a parent. Soon thereafter, I became incredibly excited by the mission that Court 16 had, which was to make tennis a sport that is available, accessible, and something to be a sport to be enjoyed for everyone, no matter socioeconomic background, prior experience, all of it. Like they from the very early days made it clear this is a sport everyone should enjoy. So that was my first experience with Core 16. A couple of years into the club starting in Brooklyn, they started their pilot program for Sound of Tennis, which was to expose the sport to the blind and visually impaired community because it is a sport that is completely accessible with, some minor adaptations for this community. And that was over 10 years ago. So that's where Sound of Tennis began. And it has been growing by leaps and bounds ever since in New York City. Really excited to share more about how that came to be.
And how did the founders come up with the idea to say, we want to start a program that is catered toward the blind community? What was their prior interaction with the blindness community? And how did they gauge the interest from the community that this is something that they wanted?
That's such a great question. So Anthony Everard, who is one of the co-founders of the club, along with his partner, Roman Avenel, they knew early on, from their, research and many years of experience with the sport that, blind tennis, as it was called in, the industry, was originally started in Japan in the 80s. And so this was not something new, but something that they were exposed to and wanted to build upon within their club, which was all about inclusivity and accessibility. Anthony's girlfriend at the time, now wife, her mother, Layla, who is truly the heartbeat and the driving force now behind Sound of Tennis, she herself is visually impaired and shared a lot of her own personal experiences with Anthony in terms of, her journey of losing, her vision as she, became older. And so those firsthand experiences from her, along with his knowledge of what was, an emerging and growing and developing sport in Japan, which had, grown in the States at this point, and has a lot of, strong affiliations through the USTA and many organizations, throughout the world. He said, I am building this club for all people. I have personal connections with this community. I want to make my club a place where people can come and experience this sport and all of the joys that it brings to one's life on the court, off the court. And so he began a pilot program in 2015 to start to create what is now Sound of Tennis, which has, grown by leaps and bounds in New York and has now, made an impact in Philadelphia, which we are so so excited to share with you and all of your listeners.
Well, that's great. And one of the things that we'll touch on later and that we've talked about offline is really the way that tennis has been used partly as the vehicle for that connection within the blindness community throughout the people that you serve. And that's led to lasting friendships and a strong bond of camaraderie. So it sounded like that was what Anthony had experienced in his own life and how that related to tennis. And
Yes,
he was able
absolutely.
to take that vision and make it into something that was going to be much more than just the sport. And I think that's a very profound notion and something that we all need. We all need that community. We all need that outlet.
Yeah,
And it's great that that
absolutely.
can come from a place where you're getting physical activity and exercise and that confidence, which we'll touch on as well.
Yeah. No, you hit it, the nail right on the head. I mean, tennis is a sport that, we all at Court 16 love so much, for, so many reasons, but, at the end of the day, like, what the sport brings to people off the court is just as important, if not more so. It's the confidence that you bring as you develop skills, of course. It's the connection that you make with your coach as you prove to yourself that this is something that I can do. And I'm speaking for all of our players, visually impaired or not. Like it's the, week to week um confidence building, relationships building. Again, like I started at the club as a young mom with two young kids. Tennis is very much a part of their lives today and all of our lives. So, yes, I'm, you know, very much involved in Sound of Tennis and other programs at the club, but tennis itself has brought so much to our lives outside of what happens on the court. Like the relationships that I've built, in the past 12 years as being a part of this organization is something that, is just incomparable to so many other experiences in terms of like what it has brought to my family's life. And that's joy, it's, sportsmanship, it's confidence, and it's just it tennis it's a sport that really is a metaphor for life, and there are many books about this specifically, how tennis, has really allowed, people to add so many, other relationship building connections to their life. And so I've found that personally and professionally, and being a part of the Sound of Tennis journey over the past decade has been, one of the biggest, joys for my family and for my career. And now expanding into Philadelphia and other markets into the Northeast, we're just so excited to share this, with communities outside of New York and expand upon, what we're doing. And, the USTA has been a big supporter of this process, and really helped us to amplify and grow the number of participants, that are able to experience, um, tennis and the joys that it brings, through consistent playing at our clubs, but also through the things that we do as a community outside of the clubs just to, um, share experiences and share resources and just develop relationships, because at the end of the day, that's really what it's all about is, um community building, that's a big part of who we are. And yeah, just so excited to continue and grow this, you know, throughout Philadelphia and, um, other parts of the country.
That's great.
Yeah.
Hildy, let's turn to you now. I'd like it if you could tell us about the game of tennis, and if you could break down for us the objective of the sport, how it's played, and then how it's maybe modified or targeted specifically to a blind and visually impaired group of people. I think there could be two subset of listeners. We have a subset that may know the game and are thinking, how do I play that as a blind person? And then we may have a subset of listeners who are blind and visually impaired and who've never experienced tennis and don't know much about the game itself. So I'm wondering if you could break that down for us.
So my experience with the game of Sound of Tennis. So when we first started, they told us we're gonna play with a regular tennis racket, but the ball is gonna be a foam ball, a little bit slightly bigger than the regular tennis balls, but it's foam and it has a bell in it. So that's how we started. Now, the thing is, the coaches before, and they're very professional, they gonna start first because it is not it is for the blind population and visual impaired. So we have different levels of vision loss. So it is the coach that really come and approach us and says, with all due respect, what is your level of vision? So he works with us with your level of vision. So you have also competitive players, but they have a little bit more sight. So, but all in all, we first start with that foam ball and then we graduate because it's the same thing. You hear the ball bouncing. So, my experience, what I really loved in the beginning when I first um, got in, I brought in a Braille instructor. He was a volunteer and he was totally blind. So they, the coach explained the court. It's rectangular, has the net in the middle. It's up to you if you want to walk around the court to familiarize a little bit. And then he shows us the net that is around the perimeter to keep the balls in the court and that they don't fly all over the place. So that is the first thing when I saw that or when I experienced that, I thought that was great because now everybody can play, whether you see or not a little bit or through one eye or whatever level of vision you have, the coaches can work with you. So it's not that we're running around like Vanessa Williams or Venus Williams, but um, first we learn how to hold the racket the right way, how to swing the different, the forehands, the backhands, the different strokes of the racket, and then we just learn how to listen to the bounce of the ball. So what the coach is doing, they toss the ball not to you, they toss it to the racket. You listen to the bounce. He helps you sing verbally. He can say, "Okay, swing," and you hear swing, then you swing. Or sometimes he said, "Listen to the bounce, bounce and swing." So we follow verbal instructions. And as you get used to it, like I also now, we have more players. Some players say, "Please," there is this totally blind gentleman, and he says, "I want to try it by listening." All the coach is saying, "Ready?" And he listens to the bounce and he swing, and boy, he can hit that ball. And then we have others that say, "No, please help me step by step." So then he goes like, "Okay, ready?" And bounce, swing. So, um, and you go from there, and we learn how to listen, and and you get better at it. So the way I make it fun, I said, listen, if you listen to the ball, the foam ball with the bell, if you do it correctly, we get promoted. We don't need to play with that ball with a bell. We play with the regular ball. And most of us play with the regular ball right now. Maybe only 2, 3 days they play with the ball, the foam ball, the foam ball. After that, we play regular tennis. So, and then we have the other ones that have a little bit more vision. They they do rallies like I hit it back. The coach throws the ball and they hit back, and the coach try to hit it back, and then they count how many times they can hit it back and forth. So they make it exciting and as competitive as you want. So that is one thing how we do. And we grew in Long Island City right now. We have 2 courts, and that is every Monday. And we have, I should say, full courts most of the Mondays. And we have different ages as well. I think the eldest one that we have is 83. So we have um, different levels of vision loss. We have people that never held a racket before, just like me. I was never a tennis player, but now I enjoy it. And it's also, as Maureen was saying, it's the people that you meet, the stories that you hear. For me, being on the court, it's like I belong here. This is my village. And because of that, because I fell in love with Sound of Tennis, I um, go with Layla and we try to promote the program. We go to different programs, to the camps, vision camps. We go to different schools and promote the program. I take accessoride. I always have Sound of Tennis with me. Oh, you're visually impaired. Here you go. This is my card. Give us a call.
That's great. Yeah.
that's the that's where you can find most of people. So I said, okay, so that's great. And I have like 3 or 4 people that came from Accessorite and they play. And that's how we end up in Philadelphia December 1st. We
Yeah.
waited so long. But I would tell you, Simon, it was amazing. The attendance was great. The welcome was warm. And we went home very, very happy.
I'm so glad. I was one of the folks that had done some promotional outreach for you all when I was contacted by Layla, and so I feel like I did a good job with spreading the word as
Yeah,
much as
thank
I
you for
could.
that.
Yeah, because I had many conversations with Layla, and I said, "I'm a marketer too, so I know how to market things," and,
Great.
I I helped out a little bit with that, so, I'm so glad, and I'm very interested in being involved when I'm able to. I was very impressed when I got the call from Layla, and I was very impressed by the approach that she took, that she called me, and she got to know me, and she was very invested and interested in learning about other opportunities that were out there in Philly that they could spread the word in, and just having that personal connection. And I think that's so needed, and it just hit differently than maybe if I were to get an email or something on social media. It just hit differently to have that personal connection, and the fact that I knew her and I had established that contact with her, and then when I went to the event on December 1st, you had an open house, which
Yeah.
we'll get to,
Yeah.
but I just felt that it was very well done the way that it was introduced to the community, because as I'm sure you know, a lot of this is dealt by trust. At
Mhm.
least that's the way it is in this area. You know, there's a trust factor with the blindness community,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and it's also a great thing because there's such a word of mouth component to this community I mean, as you both mentioned, that's how things spread. And here you are over 10 years later, with such a great track record there. So it really is great to hear on all accounts. Thank you, Hildy, for your great description of everything. And it really does bring peace of mind to know that folks are assessed in terms of whatever level they want to be at, whatever level of vision that they have, how competitive they'd like it to be. It seems like that is really taken into account. So I know that does give peace of mind for me and hopefully a lot of folks as well who might be thinking about the program. I'd like to turn it over to you, Maureen, to hear your experience with, as a sighted person working with the blind and particularly observing the way the coaches have adapted these techniques over the years as the time went on. How do the coaches get trained? How do new ones get onboarded to be involved in this process? I know that was something that I was reading about in the New York Times article, and they were talking about that distinction and some of the word choices that have to be used and the mindsets that have to be thought about in this context from the sighted to the blind. And it's something I think about a lot, as we all do in many facets of life. So I'd be interested to hear your thoughts on that.
Nick Nemiroff, who is our director of tennis, in our New York clubs, um, he has taken a very, along with Anthony, truthfully, a very significant role in developing those techniques to make the sport, comfortable, and adaptive for the blind and visually impaired community. But as Hildy highlighted, we have learned a lot along the way too. We are the coaches with the experience and, providing instruction and following, you know, um, guidelines that we have learned and absorbed from like the USTA and our own experience as we've built Sound of Tennis over the past decade. Um, but I think it's important to highlight that as we have like a solid, structure and really, fine-tuned coaching techniques and like all of the rest through the experience with the program, we have also learned so much from our players. They are the teachers for us as much as we are the coaches for them in terms of like what they are capable of doing beyond, what we might have thought from the get-go, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
And so that's truly what has made this program grow and just had such an impact on Court 16 as an organization is what we've learned along the way from our players and what they've taught us in terms of their own understanding of what they're learning and their capabilities and wanting to take things to the next level, as Hildy highlighted, graduating onto like the different type of ball. And I just want to highlight how it's been so collaborative and so enriching and a learning experience for us as we have gotten to know the players that have been with us for so many years with our very strong coaching team and our USTA relationship. We have such a solid foundation, but we've learned so much from our players along the way as well. So I just wanted to make sure to highlight that because it's allowed us to improve the program, grow the program, take those learnings to new markets. And that's what's made it especially exciting. Um, just how much we've been um, the coaches as much as we've been like, the learnings that we've received along the way.
And I would think a lot of it, the learning process goes into the fact that everyone is an individual and going to learn in their own way. And it goes back to this saying, when you met one blind person, you've just met one blind person, and everybody is different in their own way of how they're going to do things. So
Yeah.
it sounds like that's also part of the great features of the program, is that folks are understanding that they're not teaching this in a box, and there's going to be preferences and adaptations for each person as an individual, which I think is
Yeah.
very reassuring.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. And all this brings to mind a really impactful experience, if I could just take a minute to share. Um, so my son Henry, he's almost 14, and he started playing at court 16 when he was 2.5. And tennis is like his most favorite thing in life. He's grown from court 16 to play competitively all over the country. And I took him to an event that we had at the US Open this year, to help support um, an activation that we were doing with Sound of Tennis, on the grounds. And he hadn't had much experience with Sound of Tennis other than, hearing me talk about it. My daughter Lucy as well has taken part in a lot of the events that we've had at the clubs over the years. She's now a senior in high school, um, but has grown up with Court 16 her whole life and with Sound of Tennis, and knows Hildy and Layla, and of course has been a part of this community. So, Henry was at the US Open with, a large group of Sound of Tennis players back in August of this year. And it was one of the most incredible experiences for him as, a player of the sport for, 10 years of his life, to, meet and be with such a large group, on the grounds, and just, you know, learning, the ways in which to help, support, players just like walking through the grounds, and like how to guide. And,
Mhm.
we talk about it all the time, and it's given him, as a sighted person who loves the sport, such a greater appreciation, for it being a sport that anyone can enjoy, but also, for him to be able to play a role in, um, just, getting involved in another aspect of a sport that's like his favorite thing,
Yeah.
and I have such incredible memories from that day. I mean, it was raining and things didn't necessarily go exactly as we planned, but we had the best day. And I'm so glad that I was able to be a part of it and share it with one of my children who loves the sport and can now have a greater understanding of just how it can impact anybody's life, So, it just kind of has been really full circle for me, and just you know, such a great part of, my professional and personal experience with tennis. And so I just had to share that because, it's it goes so much more beyond, um, getting on the court and playing. It's just, you know, building an appreciation for each other, supporting each other. And tennis is just, a conduit really for so many bigger things. At a time and place in this country that needs a lot of love and support. And so it's just had a big impact on me professionally, and I'm just so happy to share it in any way that I can. And I'm just so thankful for Court 16 and for players like Hildy and for advocates like Layla. And it just means a lot, and it goes way beyond tennis as a sport. It's just, it's just so much more about like relationships and growth and happiness and joy.
Well, thank you for sharing. That's a beautiful story, and I know that that's going to deeply impact your son as he goes into all aspects of his life. And something I always talk about is the ability to pay it forward. And when people have the knowledge, then they can then transfer that to other people throughout their lives. And that's how the world gets changed, when
Exactly.
you think about
Absolutely.
it. So
Yeah.
thank you for sharing that story.
Oh,
Well, let's
absolutely.
move into talking about the transition to Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the groundwork of how that came to be. What started that that transition? What was the idea that sparked this to come to fruition? And what were some of the planning processes that had to go into getting it off the ground?
Port 16's foundation, in Gowanus, Brooklyn, which is just about a mile where, I live with my family. They, from that point as we grew, into other clubs in New York City, Long Island City, and, downtown Manhattan, we're always been about like growing this mission, you know, into new markets that made sense, and Philadelphia was extremely attractive to all of us at Port 16 for its strong community, strong connection to sport, families and schools. I mean, it's really our relationships with schools and other organizations that have, built us from the ground up. That's how it all started in Brooklyn back in 2014. And when we were looking in markets to expand, I mean, Philadelphia's incredibly attractive for its, you know, family focused, sports oriented, where best to start. And when we discovered Fishtown, which, as a resident of Brooklyn, reminds me very much of, Williamsburg in a way. And I've really enjoyed getting to know the Fishtown community and just exploring the neighborhood there, which I love. Um, and they've embraced us in such a way, that is incredible. And the blind and visually impaired community in particular, Layla being at the forefront of helping to build those relationships, and so many people, at the December 1st event that we got to meet. Just so excited that we're there, so excited about, the growth opportunities. We had our representative, from the USTA there that day, Hannah, and, Overbrook, and, we're just so excited about all that's to come. We've only opened our doors less than a year ago, and it's just been such a welcoming, and strong response to having us there and being a part of that community. So, we are just so happy that this has gone so well, and we're just so eager to continue to build Sound of Tennis, which is taking place, on Mondays at noon in the Philadelphia club. And we've just had such a super strong and powerful response. So we are hoping to grow that to, additional programming days so that we can, continue to build upon what has already been so fantastic.
Okay, well, why don't you give us a glimpse into who are the folks that are going to be running the Philadelphia program? Who are the coaches? And any information you can give on that?
Maria, she's our club manager in Fishtown, and she has helped to grow, all of this with Sound of Tennis with us and with Layla. Um, and the assistant club manager, Kevin, who is been so impactful as well in building the relationships, along with our head coach, Richard. We've started just, in the past few weeks, getting Sound of Tennis on the schedule on Mondays at noon, um, and are, like I said, hoping to build additional days to bring more people into, the fold to experience Sound of Tennis. But all of this information is going to be, available on our website. But just for all of your listeners who are interested in experiencing Sound of Tennis in Philly, it's currently happening Mondays at noon. And it's at no cost to participants looking to try a class for the first time and seeing if it's a good fit for them. We're always eager and excited to bring new people and introduce ourselves to the community. And we've had so many incredible ambassadors already who've helped to share who we are and what we do, who many of which were at that event on December 1st. So yeah, just super excited to continue to um, grow the program and build it and expose as many people as are interested to what we're doing.
Well, I was there, and I want to give a shout out to Frank, who I spoke with quite extensively, and he
Yeah,
was helping
yes.
me, showing me the ropes there,
Love
and
Frank.
I really had a great time. So I was
Oh,
one of the folks that was an ambassador to spread the word and tell more people, and I know this podcast will reach that as well, definitely. So can you give the contact information if people would like to get in touch with Sound of Tennis in Philly?
anybody can reach out to me, Maureen, Maureen at court16 court16.com. And I'm happy to be a point of contact in which I'll share um, further with Layla. Um, and yeah, I'm happy to talk to your listeners about our program in Philadelphia.
Hildy, if someone wanted to get in touch with you, would they be able to do that? Can you share that information? And can you talk about your role now at Sound of Tennis in this outreach and recruiting people, as you talked about a little bit earlier?
I do want to add something from Philadelphia if it comes to the Monday classes that Maureen was talking about. At this moment, Layla is the one that's doing the scheduling. So it depends on how many people wanna go that Monday. So and if we have more than four, we have more than four. So four people on the court, and then she every week she does a rotation. So the best person to contact is Layla for scheduling for classes on Monday in Philadelphia. My role at this point is just show and tell. We're gonna have open house in Philadelphia December 1st. Hildy, are you available? I make myself self available, and there I am. I'm just showing you how we play. That's it. I don't have a head. I don't have multiple heads like Maureen, but I'm the show and tell person. And then we bring, depending on where we go, we bring sometimes like we brought Frank, and we have other players as well that are interested in that has been with us for a long time, and they also want to come. And then we do just a little show and tell. I call it show and tell. Keep it simple, right?
Well, you do a great job of that. Yes.
Thank you. So if my email address is wilhil at verizon.net, and phone number 646-246-9653. Hildy Morales. It doesn't have to be only about Sound of Tennis. If there is somebody from the club and say, hey, I need an ear, I'm available.
Well, I'll be coming to New York in the spring, so that'll be why I'll be reaching out.
Okay,
I'll,
that's
Oh,
great.
that'd be
I'll be
great.
traveling out there, so we all need to meet up
We have
Okay,
to
when I
connect.
come out that
Absolutely.
way.
yes.
uh,
And you have choices. You can do Long Island City, Queens, Financial District, Wall Street, um, and Brooklyn, City Point, and I'm not sure, maybe Westchester, Maureen?
We're getting there. Yeah, we opened a club at Ridge Hill in Westchester. Um, and so, yeah, we're super excited to expand into the suburbs. So, absolutely. We're going
Oh, that's
to,
nice.
yeah. I'm glad you highlighted that. It's like this is a part of Court 16 that will be in all of our clubs. You know, um, we are building clubs in Boston as well. So, like this mission and this um, Sound of Tennis excitement is spreading across all of our clubs. So, more to come and more um, to be built. But yeah, it's a big part of who we are.
Well, we will put the contact information for Layla in the show notes so you can
Fantastic. Yeah.
contact her directly. And it'll be also in the intro and outro. So, folks, if you missed it in the intro, you can wait to the outro to hear it again. But you'll have many opportunities to hear and read how you can get in touch with her. Can you talk about the expectation of the frequency of what is recommended? I know that this is going to be happening each week, but I know that there might be some people thinking, I can't always attend each week. Is that okay? Is it something that people can come on
Absolutely.
a week by week basis when they can? Or what does that entail in terms of the frequency? And obviously people get out of it what they put into it, of course, but I just want to touch on that, uh, to kind of get that in people's frame of reference, because we have people from all different spans of life that can commit different times to it.
That's such a great question, and Hildy can touch upon it probably in more detail, but I will say that, we are all about meeting people where they're able to meet us. Do you know what I mean? Like we have players that have the availability and the scheduling to come consistently week to week, you know, and then some players that sometimes need to take a break here and there. And so it varies across, the clubs and the scheduling of which, Layla, as Hildy highlighted, is really, the main contact and organizer of all of that. But that's um, totally understandable, and there's no requirements or expectations on frequency. It's all about like our availability and everyone else's availability, and just making a schedule that works for both. Sometimes we have a certain number of spots available on any given day at any certain club. Um, and we understand, a lot of things can come up in terms of being able to come a certain number of times per month. And so we're just really all about welcoming and um, meeting people at the point of which they're able to come and being there for them when we can provide a spot.
If I may add also, it is a free program, but we still like a commitment or a consistency. But we do understand also that, um, like, for example, there was this player that says, listen, I want to come and play. I like it, but I can do it every other week. So we know Layla is very good keeping scores with that. I can't. I don't know how Layla does that. So then you have them there, and then we have 3 spots to fill. Um, that Layla gives them a call. So, are you available this day? Are you available? Whoever is available, give Layla a call. Hey, I'm free Monday. Can I come on that day? So Layla is the one that really does scheduling, but there is no rule or policy that we said that you have to come. But if you can only come, so sometimes there is one that says I can come only once a month. Great, we put you in. So that's how usually Layla does the schedule. And it works well because then if we have the same people, maybe let's say 6 weeks in a row, and then we can ask, hey, can you give up your seat, or do you want to come, or how can we accommodate you? So there is always accommodation, and of course, last minute cancellations. There is always there, and Layla is always good to say, call the next person on the line. We have a last minute cancellation. Would you like the spot? And that's how. And I think that works well.
Well, that's great. Yes, the
Yes.
open communication,
Yes.
that's really key. And one of the things that we find here, and I know from talking to Layla, this comes up in New York as well, is sometimes transportation can be an issue and not being reliable. We have a SEPTA service here in Philly that's our public transportation service, and part of that is a specialized ride service for the disabled community, and that's not always the greatest thing when it comes to being dependent on that. So that's
Oh,
something that.
I thought it was only in New York.
Oh
No,
no,
I was going to say the same thing.
no,
It's
Oh, yeah.
comforting, but not comforting to hear. Yeah.
Yeah.
no. You would think for the people that can't drive and are never going to be able to, to drive, or at least not yet. You would think that they would have a good system down to help us, before they help those that could drive. But
Right.
no, it's not that way, unfortunately.
Mm,
But
yeah.
yeah, so that is something that we tell folks in the public, whatever that might be, when they're working with the blind, to keep that in mind, because it is something that happens. So I'm glad that you know about that and are accommodating of that. You
Yeah.
mentioned about it being a free program, which is really a great opportunity. How is it funded in Philly?
At this time, this is, something that Core 16 has invested in, as just giving back to the community. Um, However, we have had corporate sponsors in New York over the years, um, of which, we're always looking to, you know, build those relationships in New York and outside of New York. The USTA has been a big supporter of Sound of Tennis. So we pursue and have achieved receiving, many grants from the USTA that believes very much in what we're doing. So that is a huge support and a great show of confidence in us. But as we build more corporate sponsorships throughout all of our markets, we have made a commitment as an organization to make this a part of what we offer to the community. So, whether it's the USTA or corporate sponsors, um, it's a commitment that we have made as an organization, regardless of those additional financial support.
Congratulations on your success in that area. That is
Thank
no
you.
small feat. So congratulations on that. If someone wanted to partner and reach out to discuss those opportunities, how would they do that?
They would contact me, Maureen at court16.com, and I would welcome and love to share more about our mission and what we've achieved, and how we can work together with potential partnerships along the way. We've had great success in the past with Warner Brothers and BNP Paribas, who I'd like to just take this moment to thank for all of their support to help us grow the program throughout the years. These are two organizations that have not only financially supported Sound of Tennis in the past, but have really seen the value in developing the relationship as sponsors, not just through the financial commitment, but in other aspects of um, building relationships with our players, either through um, guidance in interviewing skills or on the job skills, building networks for growth and job opportunities. So that's really what we love and strive for is, um, a sustainable relationship with us that goes beyond what happens on the court, but really helps to improve lives beyond the court, And that's really truly the heart of Court 16 anyway, from the beginning of you know, what tennis brings beyond, the experience that you have in our clubs. And I can speak for experience for over a decade of what the sport has brought to my children's lives. They, both play on their high school team and they have built relationships that they started at Court 16 when they were in elementary school. So it's that kind of thinking that extends to Sound of Tennis and many of our other programs. So, I'll just say that, um, it's been great, the relationships that we've built with sponsors who also look at it in that way.
Yes, it's showing that they believe in the mission and the commitment to equality that you're working towards.
Exactly.
Well, as we close today, I'd like to point folks to an excellent resource which will be shared in the show notes if you'd like to learn more. And that is an article that was published in the New York Times about Court 16 and Sound of Tennis and the impact that it's had. And before we started to record, you both were telling me a little bit about that impact and how the article came to be and some of the interpersonal connections that that article touches on. Can you both share a little bit about that? Hildy, I know you were mentioned in the article, and you also spoke to me about Sharon as well, who was one of the other people mentioned and who made the article come to fruition. Can you share that with the listeners?
Yes, I can. It was very touching when Layla asked me if I wanted to participate and if I wanted to tell my story to a journalist. At that time, I didn't know it was from the New York Times. But um, it was, for me, it was just telling my story about that if you lose your vision or you are blind, born blind, there is nothing that you cannot do. There is always something. So I was hiding behind my sighted friends, always hiding behind my sighted friends. But when I learned that I can do things without sight, I'm on the court. So I found my village. My village is my peers that are on the court that inspired me, motivate me to do things that I never ever thought I was able to do. And one of them was holding a racket. Yes, I'm losing my vision, but definitely, yes, I can do a good serve. So go to the link
Mm.
and read a little bit up on our stories. And it's also what I talked about is the help that you get and people. There is always somebody that is willing to, lend a helping hand. And like, we go by touch. And some people, like, I don't mind, but the way we teach our coaches, they ask, how can I help you? Do you need help off the court? Here is my elbow. Or we ask, can I hold on to your shoulder? And then we walk off the court. So these little things make me I feel very safe on the court. And I say it, I will say it again. Even though we're losing our eyesight, we still can play some tennis. And I'm grateful
Absolutely.
for Sound of Tennis and Court 16.
Oh, there you go. And you also had mentioned Sharon as well. Can you talk about her and her work with the article as well?
I know that she was the one that contacted, or she knows the journalist. We haven't seen her for a while because of some health issues, but she will be back. I think she is the eldest one,
I believe so. Yep.
and
Yep.
she loves it.
She overheard somebody talking about Sound of Tennis, and that's what's always so incredible about the program is just like the word of mouth and how people hear about us sometimes through happenstance at an event. And she wanted to experience it and participate in it and discover it firsthand. And that's how it all started, like really just organically. She's the one that's first, highlighted in the article, and how it first became a part of her experience. That just means the world, whether she came one time or a dozen times, just how it can touch you and make an impact on your experience and your level of like what you can do and what you can accomplish. And she's like a real testament to that. It's an inspiration for more players, hopefully, who have read the article and have reached out to us since she came into the Court 16 family,
Yep.
and has shared her experience through her connections to make that article come to life.
Well, thank you for sharing that. I was
Yeah.
very touched by her story as well, and how she found you in her 70s as she was losing vision.
Yeah.
And it's a really a great testament to think about how we all can do more. We all can take that drive
Yeah.
that she talks
Yeah.
about, and that she showed, and that you both very eloquently discussed tonight in talking about both of your stories and the collective vision of Sound of Tennis and the way that it's grown and will continue to grow. You really have an incredible team there, and it's been a pleasure to highlight the work that you continually do, and especially at the beginning of the stage of Philadelphia. It's going to be growing rapidly, I'm sure, and so it's a very exciting time for everyone here listening. Well, as we close today, I'd like to give you both the opportunity to share any final words that you would like to about your philosophy, or any of your experiences, just any parting words that you would like to leave with the public, the blindness community, the sighted community, whatever you would like your final message to be as we close tonight.
What I would just love to close with is just to underscore that tennis is truly a sport for everybody, you know. Um, and Hildy's story, in sharing how, she first, decided to pick up a racket and give it a try is everything. I mean, that's the message right there that we want to share, that, don't ever think it's something, no matter what your level of vision is. It's, we have players who've been with us for, years, who have no vision whatsoever and have loved the sport, and it has impacted their lives. So my message would be, if you're interested in experiencing tennis with Court 16, um, or any organization, like if there's any interest at all, just try it once. And, we will welcome you with open arms and would love to share our methodology and our approach. And beyond that, our community and our resources and our relationships, because that's at the end of the day what we're most about. Port 16 is truly a family of many different people who all share a joy and a love for this sport that goes beyond the court. We welcome you and would love to hear your stories and welcome you to our Fishtown Club to learn more about how we're going to grow this program in Philadelphia.
Hildy, do you have any final words to close?
Thank you, Simon, again for this opportunity. And Maureen, thank you for your kind words. I do want to say one thing. I'm very grateful and blessed that I got in touch with Layla, that introduced me to Sound of Tennis, and also to finally meet the whole Court 16 family where I belong to. So I have a Court 16 family and I have my village of peers, tennis players. So that is great. I want to also mention this, that while Layla and I one day went to the library to share and to promote the Sound of Tennis program, we met this young man, a gentleman that was really out of his wits. And he said, I don't know how to be blind, because he was losing his vision. So we introduced him to, invited him to Sound of Tennis, and he's been with us until now. And because of that, Layla and I decided to have, after usually on a Saturday, we did it twice already. We do it once a year, try to do it in October to highlight Vision Month. We have a little get together after tennis. We go just not only to talk about tennis, but also to know our players. And we call it our joy session. So we invite whoever is available. We go to a little cafe, and the stories that you hear, we have bakers, we have writers, we have piano players, we have musicians. So that was all new to me. So not only is Sound of Tennis for me my safe haven, it is for everybody that can make it to come and share their story and to be proud of what we are, not what we can see is who we are and what we are. So, Simon, thank you again. And I will say, who knows? Maybe New York against Philadelphia.
Well, we both have a pretty competitive professional sports teams, so that would, check out well with our tennis teams too. I
That
don't
is
know,
true.
that could
Something
be
to
something.
think about for the future.
Yeah. Well, thank you both. It's been a
Thank you,
pleasure
Simon.
and
Thank you
just a
so much.
delight to spend time with you all.
Thank you, Simon.
It was a pleasure. It was a true pleasure. We look forward to many good things to come.
Thanks again to Maureen and Hildy for taking the time to conduct this interview. I really enjoyed speaking with them and getting to know them and learning about their work. And as you could tell from the interview, they are so passionate about this organization, and even beyond the tennis, the community aspect that shines through that has been built in New York and is now being built in Philly. We'd like to hear from you. Have you been to one of the Sound of Tennis events so far? Give us a call and let us know how you liked it. You can reach us via phone by calling 267-338-4495, or you can send us an email at whitecanesconnect@gmail.com. I really appreciate you tuning in today. Take care and have a wonderful day.